Hey everybody, this is Patty. Welcome to the Witching Hour. I have a first time guest on my show today. You know who my first time guest is? Me. Me. I'm going to interview myself. Well, I'm actually just going to talk because I realize I have been on the road so long and I have so many great stories to tell you guys that I never get to tell you when I have my beautiful guests because it's all about them. And I have some great ones coming up. So this week, you just get me. So sit back, enjoy. I hope you like my guest. This week's guest, me. Yes, me. I have been on the road all year long, and I'm actually home for an entire month. And I thought I could use this time to catch up. There are so many things going on I would love to tell you about, but I never get to tell you about it because I always want to talk about my fabulous guests, of which we have such fabulous guests coming on. But so this week's fabulous guest is me. We might get a couple guest appearances from Gracie, who's biting my feet right now, or Willow, you may hear her in the background. Belle, watch her, she moves a lot. But other than that, I just want to talk about some of my travels lately. Um, I have been so lucky to get to literally travel the states and travel the world. I thought I would tell you some of the highs and lows of it. So sit back, relax, and let me interview me. Question what? No. Travel is exciting and fun. Travel is not actually what it always used to be, I must say. Um, Pre-pandemic, pre 9/11, pre everything, where you have to completely undress yourself before you get on a plane and undress yourself when you get off a plane. But I still love it. I'm still as giddy as an 8-year-old showing up at any airport that I go to. But there are dangers there, I must say. This is my funniest airport story, so I might as well start with this. Last month now, I did the beautiful tour of Transylvania, all through Romania, and then ending up at Paris, where we did the Vampire Theater, and my first time on stage in Paris, doing seance and mediumship work to a place that I knew that none of the ghosts were going to speak English, and I was going to butcher the language, of which I did. But leaving Paris, the rest of my beautiful witchy vampire group were staying a day longer, and I just needed to get home. So I'm like, okay, I have no sense of direction. Those of you who have traveled with me or no, I have no sense of direction. I literally can be in a hotel for 3 days, a typical hotel. And I know that walking to the elevator is right. I've been there for 3 days. I walk to the left. I am actually learning that it may be some kind of a dyslexia about direction. If it's left, I'm going to turn right and vice versa. But all right, I had to get to the Charles de Gaulle airport all by myself. Got the car, I hired the car, I knew the Uber driver, whatever, or the driver I hired, which speaks some English, and I had to get to the Delta Air France thing. Not easy. I went to 3 incorrect Delta, but no, it's the wrong Delta. You go to the other Delta. Get the other Delta. Nope, it's the wrong Delta. You have to go to the Air France Delta. Okay, get there. So, okay, I'm getting there. I got my boarding pass. I got everything. Now we get to where you have to take all your clothes off, your shoes off, your jackets off. And again, those of you knows me, I have on 12 jackets at all times, almost 12 months a year. So I always have a coat and usually a sweater underneath that they want you to take off because it's a hoodie or something. So as I'm doing, taking off my always lace up boots, taking off my 14 layers of jackets, um, and getting ready to put everything in those little plastic bins. Not big, not overly overwhelming. The plastic bins you put your shoes and your bags and your purse and everything in. As I was putting it down, one of the Parisian versions of TSA, they don't have TSA, but it's their TSA, picked up one of those big plastic bins, wheeled around, the most weirdest freak accident ever, hit me on the right temple, and I knew I was going down. I knew I was passing out that fraction of a second, and there was nothing I could do about it. Crumble down to the floor, probably one shoe on and one shoe off. I literally came to consciousness like a dozen people scammering around me, speaking French. Go and this poor girl who did this by accident was terrified. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Apologizing, apologizing, apologizing. And I'm like, I'm okay. I just have to get on this plane because I knew there was not another plane to LA for hours or the next day because my friends were coming. It's like, I'm fine. I promise I won't go to sleep for a few hours because I think I might have a concussion because it hurts really bad. But I lived and I survived. But that's my spookiest airline story ever. Another time I was back a few years ago now, thankfully just before 911, I ran a murder mystery company. Many of you know that, but I ran a theatrical interactive, now they call it immersive theater company. We traveled the world doing shows, but different than I do them now. Instead of talking to ghosts, we pretended to kill each other. But I had in my check-in, I accidentally had a starter pistol. It's a murder mystery company. I had to shoot somebody. Just a regular, did not shoot anybody, had probably a little red tip that I may have painted out. All of a sudden, going through that TSA thing, that I hear this bleep, 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 code red, code purple, code green, code code uh-oh. And I'm like, oh, oh, oh. And I see them like all those TSA agents gathering around me, getting off. And I'm like, oh no, it's my starter pistol. And I think fake guns are just as illegal as real guns. So I was arrested by airport police, taken to wherever they take you to, their police station, which they have there. And they did an international check of me to every airport, every police station, everything. And I'm sitting here with, I run a murder mystery company. My company is Brain Brew Entertainment. I do this. I have a show at the Mirage in Las Vegas right now. I have it this, I have it that. Um, I actually got them to hold up the plane for me and I got in, but I was on a watch list for years. Don't ever carry your toy gun, starter pistol, let alone anything real on a plane. And I'm a peacenik. And it's like I was arrested for carrying a gun. So those are my two scariest travel pigs. One of my funnest scary travel things was trying to get to Michigan Paracon. It's still, don't tell the other Paracons, my favorite Paracon of all of them because everybody goes and you're way up in Upper Peninsula, Michigan, almost to Canada. And it's really, really hard to get there. I mean, the first time I went, I think with all the stops, what they sent me, I had 4 stops in 4 time zones, which isn't easy. I went from Pacific to Mountain to Central, and Central to Eastern. I didn't know what time it was, let alone what day it was. And you get to Michigan, you get to Detroit, and you're going to take these little planes, little bitty planes to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And by the only people on that plane is all the paranormal people. So you're sitting there with Jason Hawes and Johnny Zaffis and Tim Shaw and just everybody, Sherry Benedetti. We're all there together and it's our plane. Every year for the last 3 years, the plane has been canceled because of bad weather or fog or rain. Last year was even the best of all. They literally had a tornado. Global climate change. Al Gore said it would be like this years ago, but they don't get tornadoes there, but they were tornadoes. And they actually were touching ground. So we had to evacuate the airport. There was nowhere. We didn't have cars to evacuate. The one hotel at the airport was completely sold out. So we had to stay there. Literally all the employees at the airport left. This one, I think she was a flight attendant or worked at the gate. It was freezing there too. She saw there was like a handful of us hanging out there. She gave us those little blue airplane blankets to keep us warm, which was really good. And then they left. A little bit of security here and there. And then the tornado shut down. So before they left, the security said we had to go to the tunnels underground, which were flooding, or the bathrooms. So I got to spend the night in the men's room with Tim Shaw and Johnny Zaffis and some of the funniest people I have ever met. Because if you do have to spend the night in the men's room when a tornado hits, might as well be some of the funniest paranormal guys out there. What we did, because you can't sit in the bathrooms, they don't have lids, it's going to be an all night thing. It was freezing. We gathered up those wheelchairs they help you with because they were just sitting around the airport. It was a deserted airport. We gathered up those wheelchairs and we sat with them in the men's room with our little blankets around us. And then once we the tornado part, we went back into the main part, but it was so cold. We laid on the chairs that you saw with our feet up on the wheelchair, and we were wrapped in blankets. I have photos somewhere with the blankets over our head because it was so cold. We looked like corpses, corpses in the airport. And there we are with all these famous people that you know from every television show, corpses in the airport. So that's my funniest spooky airport story, but I've got a million of them. My funniest travel, it's not always in flights though. Some of the time it's just getting to a location because these places are hard and far away. Like Penhurst, like Michigan, getting there is like 48 planes, and then you have to drive 3 hours. You have to get somewhere and then have to drive 3 hours. One of my two funniest ones actually are ghost adventures. In the old, I've been on there for so long, where they used to would have a PA pick you up or whatever. No, Patty, your family, we'll rent a car. So fly into, this one was Scottsdale. It was like, fly into Scottsdale and we'll rent a car for you and we'll see you on set or we'll see you at the location. I'm waiting, I'm waiting. I think I was talking to Zach directly. I'm like, I need an address. I'm not that good a psychic. I really need a physical address to get there. Oh yeah. Okay. So here's the address. Okay. So it's in Scottsdale somewhere. So I flew into Phoenix, where you do, and got my rental car. And then I'm driving so far past Phoenix, past Scottsdale. Then I'm driving deep into the desert. I'm a city girl. I'm born and raised urban city girl completely. And we are into the desert where you don't see a lot of people. And then we're not even on a paved road. I'm on a dirt road that goes up and down like a roller coaster. Didn't see people at all. I see a couple of those off-road vehicles scooting by me here and there. And I'm in the middle of nowhere. And it's soon before it's getting dark. And then I get to this little adobe house. It's the Haunting in Scottsdale episode for those of you who have seen it. There's no crew trucks. There's no Zach's bus. There's one other little tin can rental car just like mine. And it was Justin Spurrier, who was their equipment tech there. Great. I love Justin. I'm jumping out of the car. I'm like, hey, Justin, where's everybody? He goes, oh, they'll be here soon. He's like, but don't get out of the car. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, there's killer pigs everywhere. I'm like, what? Yeah, he goes, they're called javelina. I'm like, what? I get out my Google. There's my phone still working, and I look up killer javelina. Biggest, scariest wild hogs you've ever seen. He goes, yeah, they were here last night. They'll eat you. And I'm like in my little tin can car going, okay, okay, I'll stay in the car. I will watch for killer pigs. I don't want any killer pigs. And then he goes, oh yeah, and watch out for scorpions. They're everywhere. I'm what? I'm a city girl. What? Oh yeah. But if you have a black light, they glow in the dark and they're fine. I'm like, what? I don't have a black light. I'm a tiny little rental car in the middle of the desert with nobody here. I don't have a black light. Okay. Killer pigs and scorpions. So I'm sitting there sinking into my little rental car. And then almost like on cue, almost like we're on a candid camera punked kind of show, the wind whipped through those spooky cactuses. He goes, oh yeah. And watch out for valley fever. What? Valley fever. Yeah, it's in this part of Arizona. Some parts of it's these spores. They get in the air and they get in your lungs and they kill you. Boop boop boop. There's my Google looking it up. Valley fever and people with lumps all over their body and dogs and people. And okay, I'm like, okay, I won't breathe. I will have to watch out for killer pigs. I'm like, get me into that haunted house. I don't care if it's a portal to hell. I don't care. Demons. Anything beats killer pigs, scorpions, and valley fever as I sat there like this. But all turned out good. I did not get eaten. The crew showed up fast and we were filming and I didn't see a killer pig to be had. But I have a bit of a fear of the desert. Again, I'm a city girl. So, just this last season, again, we're going to the desert. We're going to go to a place called Scotty's Castle. Okay, don't know where it is. And if you tried to Google it, at that time, it says you cannot get there for impassable. You cannot get there. Any map program. So they flew me into Vegas. They rented me a bigger car this time, which was good because it got windy. A bigger car, big old SUV, and I'm driving. I'm driving way out of Vegas. I'm driving into the desert, and I'm driving into Death Valley. I think I'm driving back to California from Nevada, but I don't know where I was. But I realized again, when you get to Death Valley, if you've never seen it, there's no trees, there's no bushes. It's white. It's white. There's stuff called borax. They make boraxo. I don't know what that is, but it's white. There's no trees. You are on the moon. And I realized it's a 2-lane road that's the same color as the desert, as the same color as the no tree. And I'm like, I haven't seen another car in like an hour. I haven't seen anything else. No people, no. I'm gonna get abducted. I'm gonna get abducted by aliens. Okay, this is scary. And I know it's a desert. They probably have killer pigs. They probably have scorpions, and they probably have valley fever. I don't know, but I'm just assuming. And I'm driving, and I'm driving, and I'm realizing, oh wow, my cell phone doesn't even work at all, and my GPS doesn't work at all. And there, you cannot get to Scotty's castle from where we are. So they had me go to this little defunct ranger station in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Death Valley, the most desolate desert on the planet, I later learned. And I hadn't seen people. And I'm like, they can't, my text isn't even working. If they tried to text me and say that the location has moved or time, they wouldn't know where I am. I don't know where they am. The phone doesn't work. And I'm freaking out. I'm really going to get abducted, or I'm really going to get valley fever. And then I get to the little defunct ranger station, and there's nobody there. Like, this happened again. Oh my God, they are gone. And about 3/4 of the way, my Apple Music gave out, and that was the end. In silence, in the desert, in the bays, driving in the middle of nowhere where you haven't seen anybody else. The sun is setting. You're gonna die. Thank God I'm a witch. Anyway, but same thing. All of a sudden, I'm there alone at the defunct ranger station, and then everybody showed up. We made it up to Scotty's castle, and spooky, great, fabulous place, and all is well. But who knows what's going to happen to the next desert I get to. Anyway, that's just some travel stories I wanted to tell you. I've got packing is hysterical. When I get ready to go somewhere, of course, Willow, my beautiful Willow, she recognizes suitcase. Not that they're not out all the time now, but she recognizes suitcase put on the bed means mama's leaving. So what she tends to do now, along with Grace the thief, is start taking very important things out of my suitcase. She will take my gloves and my mittens for both warmth and protection. She will take my underwear. She will take all sorts of things around the house, but she will replace it. She will replace it with her favorite stuffed animals. So you always got to check before you close that suitcase that you have underwear and then you don't have the blue skunky plushie. So that's the in dangers of getting out of the house, and they know you're coming and they don't want to leave, and when the Uber or the train comes, it's like she cries at the door. But I always say mama comes home, and mama always does. And I have the world's best husband who gives her a play date every day and is really good. But travel, again, not what it used to be, especially when you got a very needy dachshund. Even home in Los Angeles can be spooky getting to a place. The Cecil Hotel, for one. I remember Zach had called me a couple weeks before. He's like, we're coming to LA and we need you. Fine, great. Didn't hear from him for a couple weeks. Normal, that's great. And then I get a call. I was down in Long Beach at my brother's house, and I get a call. Okay, can we get you downtown in 2 hours? I'm like, 2 hours? What? Did I wash my hair today? Okay, I could do it, of course. And he gave me an address. I do not think he said Cecil Hotel, but he said it's funky downtown. It's kind of Skid Row. Okay, so I get there, and I saw the building, and I saw those are the water towers. Oh, that's that Alyssa Lamb girl. That's the girl in the water tower. I didn't know anything else. I don't think I ever knew that Richard Ramirez lived there, all the murders and deaths that had happened. All I knew was a water. But I parked, and I'm walking, trying to get to my call time through the spooky, the Skid Row downtown, and a rat didn't want to let me go. Usually rats, they scare you, they scuttle in front of you, but they usually scuttle away. If you go right, they go left. This one, I went right. The rat would go right and stare at me. I would go left, and the rat would go left and stare at me, and we're dancing in the middle of Skid Row. I'm like, I have to get by. And I'm like, is he possessed, or is he trying to protect me? I don't know. Because the Cecil Hotel, and all of you guys would feel that, and actually check in the DM, check in below if you've been anywhere near the Cecil Hotel and felt its evilness and felt its darkness. I felt it from a block away. And by the time I got up the door, I was so depressed I just wanted to die or kill myself. It was like there is no hope for living. The energy of that place radiates darkness, radiates hopelessness, radiates sadness. So the time I get in the door, I just wanted to die. And there's Zach, and there's Aaron, and there's Jay, and there's Billy, and they have their cameras strapped on. They'd been there for hours already. They'd adjusted, and they're like, "Okay, Patti, here we are. We have 700 rooms. They're all unlocked. There's 14 floors. You tell us where to go." And I'm like, "I just want to kill myself. Really? I don't know." Okay, so I lead them to the elevator. And oh, that's that elevator from the Alyssa Land game. It's like, oh, that's the elevator. Okay. And I pushed a button. I don't know what I pushed. I led him up to a room. And then literally, I allow myself to go into trance state right away because that's what I do there. So I was already into trance state, and I led them to this room, and I'm like, I got to get out of here. And I walk, there's a window, and I'm opening the window. There's no screen or anything. We're on a high floor. I'm like, I've just got to get out of here. I don't feel good. And Zach starts yelling at me. He's like going, "Patti, sit down. What are you doing? Close that window. Why are you opening that window?" I'm like, I just got to get out of here. Again, dream state. And I'm like, why is he yelling at me? He never yells at me. And he finally said, "Sit down." So he got me to sit down in a chair. Out of the 700 rooms, I had led them to a room somebody had jumped out that exact window. And here I am opening the window saying, I have to get out of here. They have an SLS camera with this little green stick person dancing on my head, making me do all this. And it's like, oh, that was spooky. I don't think I would have jumped out. I think my Patti psyche would have taken over, but it was a spooky one. And then I led them right to this other room of 700 rooms. And I feel I'm so being attacked, and I feel I'm hopeless, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know what to do, and I'm holding myself. I look like an 8-year-old has to go pee. And he's like, "I'm being attacked." He's like, "Where are you being attacked?" And the part of me still conscious Patty's going, how do you say that body part on television? How do you say that? And I don't know what I said, lady parts or female parts. I have the 700 rooms. I led them right to a room that this poor woman who lived there had been like raped and murdered. And I know how to pick them, but that's what they call me in for, I guess. But that was really spooky. And then I went back, the Cecil Hotel, with my overnight guys, Elton and Corey, the TFI overnight guys. We did a 4-part series with them, and the same thing. Every room has a different sad, depressing story. We were in the hallway. I channel a lot. And when I channel, I rock. And I was rocking so hard that one of the guys had to put their hand behind my head so I didn't knock myself out this time. But I was rocking, and I thought I was chattering away. I thought I was talking again, just like when you're coming into or out of a dream. And I'm talking, 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 talking. All they heard was gibberish. And Corey, who's really smart and I've been working with for several years now, he goes, we should play that backwards. They played it backwards, and I was speaking English backwards. I don't even think I can write my name backwards without having to look at it. I'm so non-dyslexic that way, and that is crazy. And the other side is reverse. That's the only time I have ever done that to date. I've never heard of that in anybody else, but that was pretty spooky. Right in my own home in the Cecil Hotel. And I like happy ghosts. Like, go give me the ghosts at the Hollywood Roosevelt where they're hanging from the chandelier, having a good time, hanging in the rooms 923, having a good time. I like those kind of hotels too. So it doesn't always have to be dark and spooky. And my most recent very exotic travel was my vampire and witch tour of Transylvania and Romania. I absolutely fell in love with the country. Eastern Europe. Who knew that it was fairy book, fairy tale, gorgeous. The little towns, the villages, the big cities. The people are so warm and loving and magical and creative, and there is magic everywhere. I must say, the most magical place I have ever been grateful enough to do a magical ritual and spell is the very famous, very infamous Hoi Baciu forest. It's outside Cluj in Romania, Transylvania. And that, along with there's one in Japan that is supposed to be the most haunted, most spooky, most people missing, most trees grow sideways, unexplainable. Aliens, UFOs, Bigfoot, you name it. It's in this forest. And we got to do ritual there. It was the most magical thing. My little vampire group and I, my witchy vampire group and I were trudging in. It's the only day it had rained, so we're through thick mud and getting there. And I'm setting up my magical candles, and I'm setting up calling the call and working into the thing. And the trees spoke to us, the ground spoke to us. We did the most magnificent magic. That's it. We did the most magnificent magic. I knew there was a vowel or a consonant in there missing somewhere. And so that was the beginning of the most magical day in the most magical place on the planet that I've been. And how could I top that? I topped it off that night. My new amazing friends, they are Romanian witches, and they proudly use the word gypsy witches. And again, a lot of times gypsy is a very negative connotation, and we put negative, and in Romania, and they put negative. These women use it with pride because they are the good ones. They flew out to meet us and do ritual with us in Cluj. The magic that they did, I see what I learned in my magical comes from them originally. They've been doing it for hundreds of years longer than we have, working with rose petals, working with water, working with sound, working with chants. I'm going to start posting some of that stuff lately, but they are very TV witches, so you will see them on Discovery Channel, and they have their own YouTube pages. I will put some information when I tag them. Cassandra, two sisters and their mom, they dress in these matching beautiful gypsy witch outfits. And it was such an honor to get to do magic with them. And I'm still working with them now from long distance, doing with my best friend Patti Stanger. You've heard of her, the millionaire matchmaker. And now she has a show on CW. I just did an episode called The Matchmaker. You don't have to be a millionaire anymore. We got to do some fun magic. We've been doing magic together as well. So magic really is everywhere. Sometimes you have to travel to get there. Sometimes the travel's really great. Sometimes the travel is just what we say, adventurous and challenging. And I love adventure and I love a challenge. So embrace that into your life and go somewhere that you've always wanted to go. Because if not now, when? Just do it. That's the Witching Hour with my guest, Patti Negri.